said, Father, I said, thank you for discussing this stuff, because people don't want to hear this stuff. They need to know this. He said, well, that's my biggest problem.
Hey, everybody, we're going to get started here. No, I'm fine. I'm just going to stay quiet until everybody else is quiet.
Quiet! Hey guys, get a little closer so we can hear Zach. He doesn't speak that loud.
Hey, Joe. Stare at Alex Hunt talk.
Hey, Alex! You're on the board, come on!
I would just like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to serve as the president for the last year and as the program director for that. I'm passing on the baton to TJ today, and TJ is going to take over and introduce our speakers.
Thank you guys. Merry Christmas to all of you. Hopefully 2025 is a new start for you all, and hopefully it starts with a better president than what we had before. We had some pretty great victories throughout 2024, and I just want to discuss very briefly how young Republicans were a huge part of that. So Generation Z is, by the way, demonstrably and quantifiably more conservative than the two generations before them. Easily. In fact, there are studies that show they might be the most conservative generation since World War II. And that's because we've had enough. We've been lied to, we've been gaslit in a way that we've been deprived of the American dream, so we are the ones that have that incentive to actually take it back. And that is why I love young Republicans so much, is we make sure that the young people who are overwhelmingly ignored by the political class actually have a place. Because right now, we need new ideas. We saw very quickly what happens when you put an octogenarian in charge of the nuclear launch codes. You wind up with an administration that exudes weakness. You wind up with an administration that puts the world at stake, where frankly we have more focus on funding gender studies in Pakistan than making sure that Americans can afford their basic necessities. And the young people are the ones who were hit the hardest. They were the ones that don't have as much job opportunity. They're the ones who don't own their homes, who have to rely on rent, who have to rely on the lack of ownership, which is where you get into that new world agenda of you will own nothing and you will be happy. Gen Z is the one fighting back against that. And we're seeing that across Kentucky. It's now in the double digits of young Republican elected officials in the state House and in the state Senate, and I'm honored to join those ranks on January 7th. Our now former Secretary Steve Doan is a young Republican in the state House, and we are seeing that across the state of Kentucky, and these are some of the most conservative legislators, not just in Kentucky, but in the country. And we see this fight at the national level as well, and that's why I want to bring up our first speaker, Casimir Thornberry, who's the outgoing chair of the Kentucky Young Republican Federation, one of the founding members of Northern Kentucky Young Republicans. When I started coming to Northern Kentucky Young Republicans, he was our chair, and he made a point to be welcoming to every young Republican, to make sure, no matter how you're treated on your college campus, no matter how much you have to be silent in your workplace, you have a place to be yourself. So thank you, Kaz. I'd love for you to just give your thoughts.
I really appreciate that, TJ, and I think it perfectly encapsulated what I was thinking about talking about. I was driving over here. Sorry I'm not better dressed. I try to wear a good Christmas shirt every day leading up to the holiday. Today's National Lampoon. Glad you didn't see yesterday. It was a llama with stuff coming out of it. This is more professional. I wanted to start, I guess, by telling a story. Some of you I told a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago at this point. So you may have heard it already. But it's something that I think almost fundamentally changed me in the last year. More than just the 2024 presidential election, but this experience. I graduated from law school, and now I'm an attorney, so I'm taking depositions almost weekly. Now I'm a defense attorney. And well, what I like, and TJ may disagree with this, we're primarily a government defense attorney, although he may, I like to argue. What I'm doing is preventing TJ from taking hardworking taxpayer dollars from folks who. To that point, and
You're
I think,
outnumbered here, pal.
well, to that point, and I think what radicalized me, taking this deposition a couple of months ago, slip and fall case. This woman fell in her 70s or so, and she was suing my client. Had to take her deposition, had to get some background on her. Asking her questions about how she, where she went to school, what she did for a living. She graduated nursing school 40 years ago. Right out of school, got a job, worked for a week at a nursing home. After that week, she was helping an old man out of the bed, hurt her back, didn't work a day for the rest of her life. She was on disability for the last 40 years. She's in on her sole source of income. No other job, no other part-time job, not selling jewelry on the, at a fair, nothing. Disability, food stamps, free housing. Part of these questions when we're asking, especially as a defense attorney, in a slip and fall is, what was life like before the accident, the most recent accident, not the one 40 years ago, but the most recent accident, and then what's life like after, to get a good idea of what the difference is. And so I asked her, what could you do before that you can't do now? And she says, I think she's so desperate to get money to prove that she was really injured. In this case, she says, well, before my injury, before I fell, I could walk my dog every day. I could play tennis with my friends. I'd go bowling with my family. I couldn't help but think to myself, ma'am, you've been on disability for 40 years.
Right.
You're more active than I am now. And I don't necessarily blame her. I think that as a Republican, there's a certain level of self-responsibility. You need to take responsibility for your own actions, make sure you're self-sufficient, that you can take care of yourself. If you can't, as a family member, friends, you're supposed to do that and help them get to the point where they can take care of themselves, putting that to the side. The problem is we have had a government since President Lyndon Johnson that has fundamentally catered to this woman, has trapped her and millions like her into a system that would prefer they stay there than go out and support themselves. There's no doubt that a lot of these programs can do some good, and they exist for a reason. Theoretically, they're supposed to do some good. But I don't think any of us, especially in this room, are going to argue or disagree with the fact that it demonstrates a tremendous amount of waste, inefficiency, fraud, and it breeds dependency when it doesn't need to. That's why I'm excited for Elon and Vivek and Doge. And I'm excited for that same type of organization to be created in Kentucky. But on a much more personal point, saying that type of thing, identifying that type of waste, that problem, may win us some friends in this circle, but it doesn't necessarily win you friends outside of it. Especially those of you who are still in college, who are just out of college, who are in the workplace. Look, we're all young Republicans, for the most part. And
Not that old.
we have all heard the familiar refrain when we say something and identify an issue that our government is letting happen. And it's something that I think we've really identified since Trump was elected. What they do, and TJ, you hit the nail on the dang head, what they do is say, no, that's not happening. Then they say, well, yeah, it's happening, but it's really not happening that much. And then they say, well, yeah, it's happening, you bigot. What's your problem? And so it's those three steps every time: guilt and gaslight, guilt and gaslight. You saw it last night with Scott Jennings on CNN. I don't know if any of you saw it. And it happens just about every night with him. They're talking about the Daniel Penny trial and Jordan Neely. And the entire time the co-host is talking about what a victim Jordan Neely is. He's a victim. And Scott, God bless, finally said, I think Daniel Penny is the real victim here. And again, round of gasps. They couldn't believe that he said that. And the co-host says, well, my faith teaches me that the person who dies is the victim. I don't know what your faith teaches you, but that's what my faith teaches me. And rightfully so, Scott, I think, was offended. Are you questioning my faith? And the familiar refrain, please, Scott, Scott, she's not doing that. They're not doing that. Don't be ridiculous. You're just trying to get, go viral on social media again. It happens every day. That type of pressure, look, guys, I've gotten in some of you guys in arguments since I was in college and law school. I've been a keyboard warrior for issues that I don't care about, that I certainly don't support now, that I was convinced because I wanted in on this small group. I wanted in on this small group that I thought I wanted their respect and their kindness, their love, their acceptance, whatever it was when you're in college and law school. And I come to realize, finally, when I was taken out of that environment, is I'll never earn that. We will never earn that. How could we possibly earn respect and acceptance from a group of people who think that there's something inherently wrong with us? Who view us as the villain, as somebody that they just need to change and then we're going to be okay. We can't dig ourselves out of that hole. You are not the bad guy. I thought for a long time that if I didn't cater to some image on certain issues publicly that they wanted me to, they thought I should, that I'd be viewed as the bad guy. Maybe I am. Today. But I don't think I am. I don't think any of us are. What you're doing is fighting for your values. You're speaking up for your family, your friends, for life. You're doing what you're supposed to do. There's nothing wrong with that. Do that with kindness. Show respect when you can, when they deserve it. Be the first one to show that respect. Be kind. Be open-minded, but don't mistake kindness and open-mindedness for weakness. Do not let them walk over you with this idea in your mind that then they're going to respect you once they walk over you, because they won't. And that doesn't just include the Democrats. It doesn't just include the folks you went to school with. It includes people in this party. It includes the people in every faction of this party. They'll expect something out of you, especially as a young Republican. They'll expect total loyalty. And until they earn it from you, you don't owe them anything. All I have to say, I am extremely grateful to have been to be a young Republican, to be a leader in the YRs. I wish that I had thought this way when I was chair of the Northern Kentucky Young Republicans, earlier when I was chair of the statewide Young Republicans. I'm so glad that Donald Trump is our president. I'm so excited to help TJ, to help Sebastian as chair of the Kentucky Young Republican Federation, make sure that Andy Beshear is our last Democratic governor in a long time. Cheers. And I know that the organization that we're a part of here, that the organization that Sebastian's now in charge of across the state, is going to recruit. We're going to be a part of that, and we're going to make sure that happens. So thank you, TJ. Thank you all. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
So do you guys know what Casimir and Jill Biden have in common? They're all thankful Donald Trump is the incoming president. So now we talked about like what young Republicans can do across the country, the mindset that you need to have, but we're going to talk a little bit about who the bad guys are, and I can think of no one better for that than Devin McVeigh of the American Action Fund. Just talking about how, because fundamentally, we're the people who believe that there are alternative avenues to prosperity than the government. This guy right here is going to talk about how you can, about the problems and what you can do to fight for the solutions as well. So, Devin, take it away.
Thank you, TJ. Hey guys, I'm going to start doom and gloom. Don't walk out on me. But we're screwed. We're screwed. If we don't do anything, it's over. It's completely over. Kentucky has voted for a Republican president since 2000. Last Democrat president, 1996. We've been a majority Republican since 2017. And I can't think of another worse idea than getting just any other Republican elected. We have 80 of them. And look at all the problems still in the state. We have income tax, we have property tax, our constitutional carry is still screwed up. What do we need? We need 90 Republicans? 95, 99, 100 Republicans? No. Right now, as it sits, we have a veto-proof majority. What does that mean? That means that it doesn't matter the governor. I hate Andy Bashir, I don't want you guys to think otherwise. It doesn't matter the governor. If we had people that had hair on their chest and was willing to stand up for the things that you did to help get them elected, they could ram any conservative policy through that they wanted, no matter what. Think about it. Think about a state, think about Kentucky without squishy leadership. We don't have any Democrats in leadership, but they're all pretty much Democrats. I mean, what good do they do us? Okay? So, by the standard, if things remain as they are, we are screwed. You just go home, pack up, and just love your family while you can until everything's over. Okay? Or learn how to fight. That's important. You can talk nice but carry a big stick. And that is important. Republicans in the Commonwealth have gotten too used to making campaign promises in an even year and then ignoring your calls every other day of the week. Until they need your donation. And then they're, oh man, we tried so hard. We tried so hard for you guys. You don't understand how hard it is in Frankfurt. If only we had another Republican. So, my point is that, as it sits right now, we're not winning. We're getting some minor wins, some crumbs that they're wanting to leave for you, just enough to keep you happy. But what if I told you that you could become feared and respected in your state to a point where you could get real policy passed, no matter the governor, no matter what leadership wants, nothing like that. You have that kind of power. This is not something that was taught to you or me or any of us in college, because our government-funded schools and their college systems teach us how to be worker bees. They teach you how to work a Google Sheet and punch a clock and then go home, and that's all they want you to know. They don't want you to know how to be powerful, how to be respected. But that's my whole job, is to teach you guys how to be powerful and respected. So the elevator pitch is I work for an organization called Young Americans for Liberty. That is the official organization. You may hear me throw around the term American Action Fund. That is our grassroots side. So my whole job is to get people like you involved and trained to be, we'll call you lethal activists, and get policy passed in the states. Specifically Kentucky and Tennessee and Indiana are my three states. So I'm going to hand out, or maybe ask TJ to hand out, if you'd be willing to so kindly do so.
These two.
Could I get you guys to split these?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys.
Can you servile paper, please?
There might not be enough for everybody. I don't know how many I printed out, but if you would hand those out. They are QR codes for our conservative activist boot camp. So that's happening in Cincinnati on January 25th. It's free for anybody that wants to come out. The goal is to teach you guys how to harness this passion and energy that you already have into becoming actually political leaders in the state. You don't have to be an elected official to be a political leader. We can make infinite changes in the state with your guys' help, and especially from everything that I know about the northern part of the state, it's the best part of the state when it comes to politics. Well, I'm from the southeast, so I can't. Don't give me, if you're recording, cut that part out. But I mean, you have people like TJ, you have Thomas Massey. You guys have some of the best liberty legislators, and it looks like it translates into a group of amazing young Republicans. So I appreciate you guys having me. I hope to train you guys on how to be completely effective in our state and pass some awesome policy. Thank you.
So Morton Blackwell, the founder of the Leadership Institute, once said that the determination of political success comes down to which side has the largest number of effective activists. And that is what Devin is fighting for, is to make sure that you guys are actually effective in your ideas. Because frankly, we can talk about the ideas. We can talk about limiting government and abiding by the Constitution. But if you don't know how to fight for those values, your values really mean nothing in Frankfurt. If you can't show us that you're going to run us out of office if we don't stick to our guns, there's no incentive to listen to you all. That is the reality. There is the reason why there are so many people to fundamentally betray their oath of office. I was lucky to be part of taking out one of those. We took out 3 up here in Northern Kentucky alone in 2022. Thank God. There's more coming on that. And one of them only survived by 84 votes in this primary. And I think in 2026 we're going to finish the job.
Amen.
But the reality is this, is that we are fighting for a set of values, whereas I have said in the past that faith and families and communities and civil society are the driving forces of society, not government. That realistically I should overwhelmingly be irrelevant in the lives of my constituents. I shouldn't be involved until you're hurting people or taking their things. At that point my job is to come in and stop that. When it comes to morality, when it comes to the things that make us human, the beautiful, the aesthetics, that is up to faith. That is up to family. And I don't know many organizations who advocate for that better than the Family Foundation. That brings us to our last speaker. Jesse Green is a legal advisor to the Family Foundation. They do incredible work in Frankfurt. We also have another great Christian conservative organization represented here with the Commonwealth Policy Center. Cole Cusick is there. I'd love to just give him a shout out because he's one of those great Northern Kentucky activists. But Jesse, I want you to come in and just talk about what we're fighting for.
All right, well, thank you, TJ, for having me, inviting me to speak. So for those of y'all who are not too familiar with the Family Foundation, I just want to give a quick introduction of what we do. We are a Christian public policy organization, the leading Christian public policy organization in Kentucky. And essentially what we believe is that our great nation and our great Commonwealth of Kentucky were founded on Christian values, and those Christian values should be reflected in our institutions and in our public policy. And so we believe that parents are the bedrock of any successful society, and parental rights should be protected. We believe that religious freedom should be protected more than any other rights, because that is the foundation of parents' ability to raise their children how they see fit. Not to say that the other rights are not important, because they very much are. Our organization does not deal with them. And we believe that government policy should empower parents to be able to bring their children up as they see fit. And so we do things like voter education. This past year we did 4 town halls around the state, just educating pastors, educating parents about important issues that are coming up. in Kentucky and will potentially be coming up next legislative session. We do some lobbying as well, so I'll be in Frankfurt most of the next 3 months from now, making sure that public policy reflects Christian values, conservative values. And we also get somewhat involved with elections. We don't make endorsements, but we put out voter guides so people realize where the candidates stand on the important issues that voters care about, because ultimately you cannot expect voters to hold politicians accountable if you do not know where the politician stands. You can't fix a problem if you don't know there is a problem. So things that we have worked on in the past, we worked to get Senate Bill 150 passed 2 legislative sessions ago, and that did a whole bunch of stuff. One of the most important things it did was protect kids from transgender operations, because children should not be permanently castrated by so-called doctors, and people should not be able to profit off of those barbaric surgeries.
Absolutely.
There needs to be some strengthening in that prohibition. Unfortunately, I'm sure some of y'all have seen what Governor Beshear is currently doing, forcing Kentucky taxpayers to pay for transgender operations for prisoners. We're going to make sure that the legislature does something to stop that next session, because that is unacceptable. Also included in SB 150 was protections for parents when they send their kids to school. It provided a way for parents to challenge certain books that were in their school libraries and in their school classrooms. Quite frankly, pornography should not be in schools, and it is unacceptable that we even needed a law in the first place to push back on that. But since we did, we worked to ensure that there were some protections. Now, it is a weak version thus far. We need to strengthen it. We need to give parents the ability to sue whenever schools ignore the law, which unfortunately is happening right now. Fayette County is blatantly ignoring the law when it comes to SB 150, and parents need a way to hold them accountable. Also included in, what's that? No, that was not in SB 150. The other thing we worked on most recently is we worked to make sure that there's age verification laws for pornographic websites. And all that bill did was this radical idea that people should have to verify their age before they get access to it. Just like if you wanted to go into a physical establishment and purchase some of that nonsense. Please don't do that. We are not recommending people do that. But age verification is in normal society. Why should it not be applied to the same exact content when it's online? Unfortunately, that case has been challenged and is in front of the Supreme Court, but we are hoping and praying that the Supreme Court overturns some of their previous bad precedent and rules that states have the proper authority to protect children from that content. And really it comes down to reinforcing parental rights, because that law gives parents powers. It helps parents protect their kids, because right now it is so easy for kids to get access to that content. So why am I here speaking to the young Republicans? Why do I need your all support? The reality is, when we are in Frankfurt fighting for these common sense ideas, like protecting religious freedom, like reinforcing parental rights, like ensuring that our tax dollars are not being wasted on a bunch of California liberal communist ideas, we need strong people to be holding politicians accountable, and also to be sending messages to your elected officials. Now, I know up here you'll have a bunch of fantastic reps, and we work with a bunch of them. But it still works in our favor when we have people contacting their legislators, a strong, unified show of support that we expect our Republican supermajorities to get conservative, common sense ideas passed when they have the numbers. The governor doesn't matter. The General Assembly gets to do whatever they want. And unfortunately, they've stonewalled, and they have not done a whole lot to advance common sense ideas. So we are relying on strong conservatives to get engaged and to help us out when we are fighting for these things. Out in my car, and I'll bring some in here after this, I have a few documents that people might be interested in seeing. I have a page of bills that were successful last legislative session that we supported. There's a small section on bad bills that we helped defeat, like the effort to weaken Kentucky's pro-life laws. And as a word of caution, another effort is coming up next legislative session. The pro-abortion crowd is constantly attacking Kentucky's pro-life laws, and we need to stand firm against those. Actually, the ACLU is currently suing in Jefferson County to try and invent a right to abortion in the state constitution. And then I also have on that page a list of bills that were blocked, and it's the entire back half page. And it's a bunch of common sense stuff like strengthening Kentucky's Religious Freedom Restoration Act, so religious freedom is protected, and we don't have Bashir sending cops to churches to shut down Easter Sunday services. Never again. And so, if any of you would be interested in working with me and my team on getting some of those past the finish line, please talk to me afterwards. I'd be more than happy to discuss our legislative agenda for this next time, what you all can do to help, and why it is so important that we have strong legislators willing to pass strong Christian policy, strong conservative policy to ensure families and parents are empowered to be able to bring up these next generations to continue the greatness of our Commonwealth and our country. Because really, when families are weak, society is weak. When families are strong, society is strong. Families are under attack, and we need to fight back.
Thank you guys. That's all we've got for the speaker. Back to networking. I do want to introduce the new board of the Northern Kentucky Young Republicans. So Zach is our immediate past chair, and I want to thank Zach for the incredible work he's done with helping continue to build Northern Kentucky Young Republicans. Our new vice chair is Kevin Capolino. Our new program director is Andrew Hamilton. Our membership and recruitment chair is Alex Hunt. Our secretary is Zach Metz. Our new campaign community outreach chair is Casey Allen. We still have an incumbent treasurer, Kyle Myskowski. He did so good, we decided to keep him for another year. He's the only one who stays in the same spot. That's right, we were just too lazy to find a new person to take care of the finances. Casey is also, we have established 3 new positions because we have grown at a point where Northern Kentucky Young Republicans, as far as I'm concerned, needs to start going into the specific counties. So we established a Campbell, Boone, and Kenton County chair position. Our Kenton County chair, he couldn't make it, but Jason Lewis is the new Kenton County chair. If you reside in Kenton County and you want to get involved, you know a young Republican who should be involved, get in touch with Jason or get in touch with myself. I'd love to help get them involved. In Boone County, we have Casey Allen, who's also the Boone County Republican Party youth chair. And also for Campbell County, we have Wes Hamilton. To quote my favorite Christmas movie, American Psycho, Hamilton, have a holly jolly Christmas. Seriously, guys, keep involved. Thank you all for being here. Make sure you invite more people. We have a whole lot planned for 2025. It's not an election year, and as a result, we get to focus more on the issues. We get to be more involved on just actually fighting to drive conservative policy. Because having a Republican majority does not matter unless we are moving in a more conservative direction. So thank you, guys.
Family Forum? Oh yes, I was. Yeah, I was on the Amendment 2 panel.
I'm the guy that gave away the red and white shoes like whoever was supposed to be giving away the yes on 2 signs took off, so we were sharing it around the state.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could have 2 or 3 of those every year, but it's
Speakers are just
yeah.
well worth
Oh yeah. For hotel fee.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I'll give him a call tomorrow when I get into the office.
It's like
Hey, here, Mike, get through. We still do what we can do. Hey, John, I'm looking for one right now.
For the Lord.
Steve Bennett. This man is the great power of God. Now, here was a man who was using sorcery. Sorcery is just another word for witchcraft. What Simon was doing was not just a bag of cheap tricks. It's not just that he was an illusionist. He was in league with the devil. You know, sometimes people will get into sorcery, witchcraft, whatever, and they say, well, there's really something to it, Pastor, as if that exonerates it, as if that somehow indemnifies it, if somehow that substantiates it. There is something to it. But friend, what there is to it is devilish. There is devilish, demonic, magical power in the world today. Now here's the second point. First of all, don't be dazzled by the satanic power of false religion. Number two, don't be deceived by the superficial faith of false religion. Not all false religion is in the occult. Sometimes it moves right into the church. Now begin to read in verse 13. Now remember, Simon now has been a sorcerer. He's been practicing witchcraft. But now notice verse 13. Then Simon himself believed also. Well, Philip has been preaching Jesus. And now here is this sorcerer, this man full of demons, who's been practicing witchcraft. And the Bible says he believed also. And when he was baptized, he continued with Philip, and his feet